Welcome to Toffee TV. I'm joined by Rob Sloman, who is making and has made the brilliant Howard's Way film. Good to see you. Good to see you. Last time we spoke on camera was back in April, when you were things were just kicking off with. I know obviously you'd had it planned and everything else, but
hadn't shot much.
No, just about to start trying to put everything together when you're getting the shooting done and all of that. And now, 6 months later, we're at the end of that journey. You've lost a bit more hair.
Yeah, have you noticed that?
I've just noticed it.
Yeah.
Mine's gone a bit darker than yours. You've lost yours. But
very good.
I mean, what's it been like the 6 months?
Well, April, May was crazy because there was a sort of limited. If I was going to be able to make it this year, had to be busy in April, May. Had to get lucky with some schedules and had to be able to get over to Australia and get back and then just get straight into Liverpool. And the good thing is a number of the players still live around Liverpool, so we were doing 3-4 interviews a day to try and get it done. Cameraman was delighted because they earn the same. Whether they do one thing in a day or four things a day, they get the same money. So I'm cramming it in, and they're like, "Really? Do you not think we should do that tomorrow?" I'm like, "No, I think we should do it today. I think we should."
The light's better today.
Yeah. So, and we had there was some great bits of fortune. I was in the Central Library, and somebody came over and said, "Are you the chap making the film about Everton in the 80s?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Did you know that the Everton collection is here?" And I didn't. I should have, but I didn't. And so we went down into the treasure trove there, and the trophy was there, and I've put pics out, and people have seen that the Cannon League trophy was there, and other stuff that we didn't put out. Bawley's boots, the white boots, the original white boots were down there, so that was amazing. Yeah, so that was brilliant, so that was a bit of luck, and then the Sabutio stuff that you may have seen that I put. So that was again. Somebody just tweeted it, and I happened to see it, and I thought, God, those are amazing. The detail was amazing. So, got hold of the guy that had got them made for him. They were bespoke for him, and he said, "Yeah, come and film them." And then spoke to Thomas Regan. Do you know Thomas?
Toffee art, yeah.
And he wouldn't tell me how he did it. I was thinking like it must be like a mini stencil. But what a talent he is. And then went to film. And the guy who'd got them had actually got a stadium, a replica Goodison, but not just a replica Goodison. It was a replica Goodison from that era, the 80s. Yeah. So he'd got the Bayern Munich team, the Everton team, and the stadium as close as he could to what it was like. So that was, that was a fun fair, that one. That was brilliant. And so those little things came along, and then we did an extra little bit of filming with Kevin Sheedy, which was great, and all the players bought into it as I hoped they would, and I think they all come across really well. That was important when I was watching it back. You have to think they're going to be sitting there watching this, So are they happy with how they come across? Do they have enough screen time? And every one of them had a story, and I was sort of ticking them off that. That Neville gets his time and Gary, and then you go through it, right? So 1 to 11, and Alan Harper and Kevin Richardson, and they all have their moment in the film. And so from that point of view, I'm happy with it. And it was a really busy time, but I'd be lying if I said it wasn't great fun, because it was. And I'll never do anything. I've done some things before in my life that I've really enjoyed, and I worked with Sevi, and Sevi Ballesteros was my absolute hero as a kid, as a golfer, and got to work with him, and it was brilliant. It was amazing, and did some superb things there. But for a condensed period of time, to be making a film about the team that has sort of 45 years near enough been such a central part of my life, and still are ridiculously on weekends when they can sort of ruin the mood like recently. It was great fun, and I sort of worry about come middle of November what I'll do, because nothing will feel quite as exciting as doing this for what's been sort of 2 years.
I mean, you've put a downer on it there, haven't you? You'll be, what will it do after that? I missed those flights to Australia and Minnesota and places.
Well, we didn't have to go.
Because he was over.
Because Adrian came over here, but it was. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't excited about sitting on a plane in the back of the plane for 20 hours and then literally filming for a day and getting back on the plane. I wasn't. It was, but the stuff out there was good, and the weather was kind, which was important. Once it's done, you sort of. I look back now and I think, we did quite a bit in a short period of time, and then it's just then you're thrown into the edit suite, and it really matters. Every scene really matters. I had an idea of what I wanted it to be, and 10 different people would have made the film 10 different ways, and I'm sure of that. And Two Tribes came out, and I love Two Tribes. Much more political than this will be. This is much more a celebration of that team, that era, and we touch on all those things. And I think we've got a really good soundtrack. One or two tunes that we couldn't get for various reasons, Deacon Blue. But I think it's really close to the film I wanted it to be. It's lots of fun. The players tell lots of good stories. I hope people laugh, and I hope people feel proud of that team. I'm sure they will. There's a bit of emotion in there as well. So, if I had another crack at it, I wouldn't do much differently.
I mean, that's the key thing. And another key thing is, it isn't just Howard Kendall's life story.
No.
Just get that across, because some people have took it on board as if it's Howard's life story, but it isn't. It's about, as far as I'm concerned, and there'll be older people than us who will may challenge me on this, but it's the greatest Everton side of our era, of our history.
Colin's interesting, because I said to him, we were talking about Bayern Munich, and obviously every player has just said, oh yeah, that was the night, if I can take a game to the grave. So it never occurred to me that somebody else might think that. So Colin Harvey said, yeah, it's up there, be one of my top 5 or 6, but and then sort of went off down the path of his team in the late 60s, and I was like, oh, all right. So it's not Howard's story. It's about him putting together that team in the style of the Magnificent Seven or the Dirty Dozen or whatever, finding the players that needed to fit his team, and then sort of introducing those players sort of one by one in the film, and then letting the story flow.
Howard comes in, he brought in Alan Bailey, Mick Ferguson, part of the Magnificent Seven. I'm going further and further down the pecking order here. I don't think there's anything for me. Maybe it was time for me to move on.
Heath has pushed forward. Sharp! Oh my goodness!
It's a big thing, isn't it? The Magnificent Seven and 5-goal Fergie with a size 6 feet and all that, and Howard can 6'1" centre forward with size 5 or 6 feet doesn't really work, does it? And obviously out of that Magnificent Seven, there was only Neville really who was some, when he bought Adrian.
It's not Neville really.
Well, no, it is Neville,
yeah.
And Adrian, and he did piece this team together. I remember talking to Andy Gray back in April through you, obviously, and him and Sharpie, and then saying that when Gray come in, looking around and dressing him, there's no leaders, everyone was a bit head down, and looking at that team then, I remember being in the street then, we beat Coventry in the League Cup 2-1, we're getting beat 1-0, and Reid comes on, and we win the game 2-1, Sharpie and Heath scored, and you wouldn't have ever thought that 18 months later we'd be the greatest team in the land, and often I do this, I look at like our current team and go,
is there a chance? Is
there any way that this team could... And it is a bit like that at times, that sometimes things click together. Before anyone certifies me as insane, I'm not saying Everton are going to win the league. No. But I'm just saying the way that team did come around because of the characters that Howard
it was quite quick.
Had put together.
It was quite quick.
Well, 3 months... I mean, listen, I'm talking about that 2-1 win in the League Cup. Stood in the Gladys Street, there was 9,000 people there. We beat Coventry. Remember getting 68 home with me bag of chips. 2 months later, we sat there and we draw 0-0 with Coventry, and people are throwing cushions down, and we get beat by Wolves, and we go to Birmingham, and we have to wear a different. We win 2-0, and then I was at Stoke on the Saturday, and
I see Birmingham, Stoke, and Oxford. Are the games that the players talk about as and Coventry as well. But this is one of the things that I'm sure people would love to see more archive than you can put in the film, but the budget is the budget, and you have to try and, but Birmingham, Stoke and Oxford happened fairly quickly after each other, and Andy Gray and Peter Reid talk about it in the film, and Neville as well, and they won, they drew with Oxford, but obviously Adrian's goal, and that was between those 3 games, something was happening and they got it all right. Andy Gray says that before the Birmingham game, Howard says, if it doesn't happen today, I'm making big changes. Got to do it. A lot of you are, and they win the game, and then Stoke with the windows open and the crowd outside, and then Oxford, and after that, the momentum picked up pretty quickly. They finished the season really strongly.
Finished 7th. Well, from Birmingham, we were 18 league games without losing.
Yeah. So one of the things I was a bit disappointed at is Graham Sharp, I think it's a game before the cup final, or a Goodison game shortly before the cup final in '84 against QPR. Graham Sharp scores an unbelievable goal, and I wanted to get it in. And the film at one point was 2.5 hours long, and we have to trim it back, And that goal was a casualty, because it's a fantastic goal. And if you haven't seen it, you should. I don't know whether it's on YouTube or not, but I'd never seen it before.
Right.
And I texted him and said, I've just seen this goal you scored, and I've got to put it in. And he was like, "Oh, cheers, pal." And now I've got to tell him that it's not in there.
Oh.
But it's a typical him goal. It's a volley from an acute angle, and it's brilliant. But it's not in.
It's not in. It's on the floor.
Didn't make it. So much stuff did.
I was going to say, that when you're putting something together like this, and obviously you start big and you have to chop everything back down. Yeah. Was it difficult deciding?
Horrible.
Yeah, because I suppose
it's all right so my editor's Australian mate of mine, Mike Brook, and he's a brilliant editor. But he also comes at it as a neutral, which is ideal, really, because otherwise, I'd be there, I'll put that in, that's amazing. Yeah. And the film's 3 hours, and you're like, but it's all good. And he's like, do we need that? And I'm like, yeah, we need that. And then you'd start to sort of debate it. And what would happen sometimes is that he would get in early in the morning, and so I would leave late at night, and he'd get in earlier, and he'd say, I've made a few tweaks, and I'd look at it, and I'd go, oh, really? You think we need to leave that? And he said, look at it, maybe look at it in a day's time or whatever, but I think it's better.
Yeah.
But he was probably right. There's one thing, I mentioned it to somebody earlier today, that there was a great bit where, so we've got Jim Rosenthal and Clive Tilsley in this film.
Okay.
Because Jim was doing all of ITV stuff at the time, and Clive was the Radio City commentator.
Yeah.
So they were both around the team a lot. So we got them to do stuff, and it helps sort of narrate the film in bits. And Jim said that ITV and BBC commentary teams and the presenting teams on the cup final, it was war. So in terms of getting the players before and after the game, there literally were fights. I thought, this is great, I love all this. And he was saying, to get the players at the end, it was a big thing, who's going to get the goal scorer and all this stuff. Yeah. And there was a nice scene where Bob Wilson sort of pulls a player towards him, and he's got, I think he's got Andy and he's got Kevin Ratcliffe, and then Trevor Steven appears, and he sort of leans in to make sure he doesn't lose Trevor Steven, and says, Trevor, great game today, the cross for Andy's goal there, and how was it? And Trevor Steven says, it was brilliant, but I'm really tired now. And Kevin Ratcliffe just looks at him and goes, why? What have you done? And I thought it was brilliant. I thought, because they're Everton, so everything they say is brilliant and funny and stuff. Yeah. And I loved it, and I liked the Jim Rosenthal story before it that linked it together. And I came in one morning and Brookie, my editor, chopped it out. I'm like, what have you done that for? And he says, I just think it's sharper, stronger, better without it. And there were so many of those things where he was the editorial, but I think I started off in newspapers. No one can tell me editorially how to put it together, but he was right. I was too. You can get too close to it, and you need somebody to come in and say, "Don't think yes, no, yes, no," and we chopped a lot. 2.5 hours down to an hour 50 or hour 48 as it is. That's a lot of stuff to lose. A lot of chat, because it wasn't all archive. But we lost some bits that I fought hard over, but I don't think it should have been over 2 hours. I think it feels okay.
Okay, because I think
it is tough. You feel like, well, I'd love to put it all on. Some of it's I've put on the DVD extras where it's chat.
Right. Yeah.
So the stuff where they talk about the dressing room, it's fascinating stuff. But it's fascinating stuff to a certain audience. And maybe it belongs on the extras and not in the. I'd love to have put half an hour of Manchester United, the 5-0.
Yeah.
Because most people haven't seen, they've seen the goals.
Yeah, but the
most
play
people
anyway.
haven't seen how good we were in that game. And so we've stuck half an hour of that on the DVD extra. So because they could have scored 10.
Yeah,
they could have scored 10. So it's good to, it's ropey footage, but I think it's, people will like that.
Well, listen, they're the extras that you want to see, aren't they?
There's a few bits on there that I was crying about nicking out, but they're on the DVD extras, so get the DVD.
Make sure you get the DVD. It's all out.
This tie's not too low, is it?
Trevor was always a cool dude.
Oh, well, he had the hair, didn't he, for it? He had a je ne sais quoi, didn't he? A little bit of a fashion sense.
Martin Dobson, one morning in the weight room at Burnley, pulled my socks up, first and foremost, stood me up, shoulders back, pulled the socks up, and he said, play smart, dress smart, think smart. Okay.
Is this a nervous period for you now? Because obviously we've got it's on the Liverpool Film Festival on the 2nd, I think.
Yeah. So it's November the 2nd is the Liverpool Film Festival gala premiere. They put us in quite a small screen and we've sold it out. So I'm hoping that we go to a bigger screen.
Right. Okay.
I think
then it's
Trevor's coming to that one.
Oh, okay.
Peter Reid, I think, and hopefully I get Graham Sharp there, maybe one or two others. So, a good occasion.
Yeah, that's good.
But the players couldn't all do that
day.
date.
Yeah.
And I would so wanted them to have a celebration and
as a team.
I wanted. Everyone kept saying you never get them all together because they've all got things to do but I just thought, well, maybe there might be a date. So I kept going back to them saying, what about this date? No, I'm away, I'm here, I'm on holiday, and I just kept thinking, well, there must be one. And then we settled on November 11 as a date that most could do. And then, one or two of the other players started sort of saying, come on, it's all right for me to say it. But if Peter Reid says, please, can you do it? It's different. And I think that everybody, would love to get together, and this is a chance to do it. And maybe there'll never be another one. So they're going to get together on the 11th. I think we've got everybody there, and it all depends on Adrian and Minnesota whether we get the full
team.
But Colin's going to be there, and I think it'll be. And I really wanted that for them.
Yeah.
Because to those of a certain age, they were everything. I was going through school in Cornwall, miles away. But I used to sit there on a Monday in assembly, and then you're daydreaming and you're away with it. All I'm thinking about is I want to get to Saturday or Wednesday or whatever, but I want to get to the next game because we'll win it. We're bound to win it because that's what we did. Kevin Ratcliffe says in the film, it's great to be in a team that's just winning. And that's what we did. I think there were 2 streaks in 84-5 where we won 10 games on the trot, all competitions, and didn't lose for 25, 26 games and only lost because we rested players because it didn't matter because we'd won the league. We were unbelievable, and it was the only time in my 50 years, 45 of them supporting Everton, it's the only time that I've been able... you just knew we were going to win games. We conceded early against Sunderland in April 85, and I knew we'd win that game, and I think the players knew they'd win that game. It was just how many we'd score. And on that particular day, we scored 3 fantastic goals, and they chucked in an own goal, I think, or Sharpie
claims it.
But that was what it was like, and that's the only time in my life, that period there, where you just knew you were going to give somebody a do. And I said to you earlier that nowadays you look forward to, like United last year. We got a chance today. Back then it wasn't we've got a chance today. It was like we'll do these today, and we'll give them a good kick in, and we did. And that's
2, 3, 4.
Alan could play any position on the pitch and play it well, and so could Kevin Richardson.
They come in, they did a job, they went out.
5, 6, 7, 8.
We must have saved millions of pounds. Without them 2, we wouldn't have won anything.
10, 11, 12. Mainly 12.
Just thinking back as well as a kid, and you take it for granted because it starts happening every week where you're winning and winning and winning. I was saying to Billy, and who's our young lad who's made that last year was probably the best run he's seen of Everton for a while.
Yeah.
I used to want the opposition to score because you'd know that we'd get a response from. Now I'm terrified when we give the opposition a corner. It's that bad, but I think then
are as well.
Well, without a shadow.
I
mean, that game you're talking about, Ian Wallace scored after 85 seconds. Sunderland, and it was like, we're sound. We'll just wake up here, and it's 4-1.
It was just a period towards that end of that season, and every game was a massive game, and they never let you down.
No,
they just
delivered
the incredible thing. And the late equalisers that other teams seem to, specialise in now. We did that.
Doing it.
We did that. We did it against Ipswich in the quarter-final. We did it in the semi-final. I remember being at home in my room, and I had a little black and white telly in my room. I'd have been 15. And I remember switching it off with about, I thought it was over, and I remember being in my room thinking, well, what a run that was, and I would have loved it, And the FA Cup final was such a big deal in those days. To those of us that lived, 250 miles away. It was a really, really big deal. And to get to a final when it was a celebration of your team all day.
All day, 9 o'clock
on the bus,
morning.
in the hotel. Yeah. Fantastic. And and I really wanted that because it never happened for Everton. And I remember 84 being the first time and just celebrate. That day was just, and then wanting it again and thinking that well, you know, Luton were 1-up and everything. Every time you heard the report from the ground, because obviously it was different, you just had to wait.
Then. And
you know, I think the other game that day had the live radio from where I was. You know, so I think it was Man United Liverpool, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So that was the live commentary, and then I remember turning so I turned my telly off and I'd given up, and I was just sort of sat in my room and I thought I'll just turn it on just to get confirmation. I turn it on and Des Lynam saying, well, let's have a look at the 2 games and what they're up to now. And I thought, what's he mean? And the players are just sat on the pitch, and it was like one of those fantastically happy moments where you know, and you knew that you'd win that game then.
Yeah,
but we've equalised. I didn't know how we'd equalised. And we do a bit on that Luton game. The Luton game's good in the film, and Sheedy talking about how it wasn't his best hit, but it was the only place he could put it. And I think you might have seen the tweet that I put up with the goal from a different angle. We've got a couple of those from different angles, and the fans going mental.
Limbs.
You know, it's just just off the charts. And the Mountfield one is the same. And you know, Everton throughout the decades, Everton have been sort of the best at pitch invasions.
Yeah,
you know, we do a little bit of that with Frank Wilmot for the Liverpool game, the Windmill Man.
Windmill Man, yeah.
But you know, that game and the fans and what they're doing, and you know, I only saw that on the telly, but you know, that Luton game, the fans have. I went to the '95 semi-final when we played Tottenham at Elland Road, and Everton had 3 sides of the ground. Tottenham had more fans apparently, but we had 3 sides.
They had the big stand, didn't they?
It felt like a home game when you walked. It felt like a home game,
everywhere.
And that's the only time that I can say that I really experienced that, because that was one of those rare occasions where you weren't sweating really, because they won the game quite comfortably, and generally. You know, I just watched it and thought that's amazing to be part of that. And then, and I hope, and I think, because the fans are a massive part. They are now, but they were then. And that game, and Notts County and Oxford, and all these games when you can see how much it meant to the fans. And Wembley in '84 when the bus arrives is bonkers. And we do a bit on that as well. And the players talking about what it was like for them, and we make fun of John Bailey in it. You need to see it, but the fans were sort of desperate but expectant on that particular day, and then to see the joy that was following in '85, and the fact that they got to celebrate Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, and that it's just, people can't really understand what it was like, and it was crazy. And I was a school kid miles away in Cornwall. It was still amazing. Well,
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Is that's where I hold my Everton standards from now, and so when people look and go, well, Everton big club, I automatically get transported back to that when we were just bouncing.
You can't help it though, can you?
Well, but that's. I said something the other day on one of the videos we've done, and it was, if we don't uphold them standards as fans now and demand that that's where we want to go, why would people who come into our club, who've got the power to change stuff, why will they then think, well, Everton should be up there? Why should Everton be up there? They haven't been for years. So we have to remember them times. We have to drive them. And that's why, for me, this particular film, and I've said this to you for 6 years, that we've been having these conversations. I mean, you did forget that, you know, we'll talk about that at a different time. But the 6 years we've been talking about it is, we've had conversations about this team falling through the cracks and everything, is because this is such a incredibly important moment in Everton's history. It should never be forgotten, and has been by people, and it should be something that fans of Billy's age, you know, young whippersnapper over there, looks at and goes, oh my God, that team that I support, that's what even the Piv, who's probably, you know, I reckon he was around then, he tries to tell me he's only 30, but I don't know. But fans of that age look and go, that's what we were. Yeah. That's what the other lot have done.
I think you know, we were. I think a lot of the feeling is that what we could have carried on being, and you know, and everyone feels that. And you know, when I say to people, and people don't care. You know,
no,
you know, they've heard it all before. You know, well, you know, Leeds used to be a big club, and you know, how far do you want to go back? Huddersfield, and so on and so forth. But you know, we would have carried on. Neville Southall says in the film, we were the best team in Europe by far.
We were.
And we would have been the best team in Europe by far for at least 5 years. And he's probably right. And everyone go, well, yeah. But it wasn't our fault, and you know, things that happened, we couldn't control them, and we do that in the film, and hopefully we do it the right way, you know. And it's not about blaming things, it's about, from our point, it's regret, because I don't think we've ever really recovered from it.
Well, people say, people go, oh, bitter Evertonian. Well, we are bitter because we're bitter that we would have won the European Cup.
We're the only club that can can feel that way because, you know, I've said it
We had
before.
two
But if
goals at it.
if that happens, if Heysel happens in the 70s, then there is no Liverpool dynasty. They can't do the European Cup stuff that they did and went on to establish themselves as maybe the biggest club in the world. You know, and that is off the back of what they did then. You know, and if it happens in the 90s, then United can't do it. It happened in the 80s and it stopped us stone dead. It did. And, you know,
that's just a fact.
People left, and it is. And there was a young team. It was 24 average age, something like that. I mean, I think Kev Ratcliffe was 24, youngest captain around.
Youngest captain.
And it did. And you can't say it, and 5 years later Sky are on board and football changes forever, and it would be very difficult to imagine a scenario where 5 years after our latest league title, if we're still in Europe and that squad stays together, that young squad stays together, that we're not a part of the picture in 1992, because we would have been. And because of that, you know, we slid away and you know, just about held our status a couple of times. And you know, people, you know, I go to Saturday morning football and I tell people, you know, so how's your film going? I say, it's going all right, etc. And someone will always chime in with Everton, a big club, and all that stuff. And you think, and there's not a lot you can say.
Well, you can say they're the fourth most successful English club.
You can say that, but
I know it's every year it means less.
Yeah,
doesn't to us, but it does to anyone. I know.
So it's, you know, there's two sides to it, aren't there? I'm really happy that we got to make this film because it represented so much of my sort of childhood, and I knew in the 70s what it was like to not quite be good enough to you know, it wasn't like we were brought up on success and then we lost it. You know, we had the low and then we went up, and it was just taken away when, you know, and I mean, 20 however many years ago, and I still feel like, you know, what could we have done? How many European Cups would we have had? And, you know, we can't talk about it because it didn't happen. But we do talk about it because this bit did happen, and at least we had that, you know.
Absolutely. I mean, finally, where can we see it then? How can we get hold of it? Because every Evertonian really needs this as part of they need to buy it because it's your history. It's an incredible. It'll be amazing. I haven't seen it, but I've been there and seen some of the filming and different things. It's a vital piece of your Everton collection, and you need to get it because it defines it for me who we are as a football club. We come from hard times, a period of hard times, the 70s. Started off winning the league in the 1970, and then we dropped off. This was incredible, and like Rob just said then, it would have gone through the roof and it was taken away from us. So,
and they're good guys. They're good guys. They've got stories to tell. They're proper characters. You couldn't really do this sort of thing.
They'll never happen. And again, what you've got now,
so the changing room and the tight knit group that they were, and the fun that they had.
Yeah.
And I hope that sort of fun and the fact that they ripped the mickey out of each other, you know, throughout the film, that was important to get that across. But
not all of it, though. Obviously, some of it couldn't go on.
No.
But so how do we get the how do people get hold of it?
So the website evertonhowardsway.com, there's all the details there, but you can pre-order it now. Can I say that you can pre-order it on Amazon?
Yeah.
It'll be in HMV. We've got a signing in HMV on the 11th actually, so people should come along to that. Gary Stevens, Trevor Stephen, Neville, I think, maybe a couple of others. Nice. Derek is going to be there. You can find out where you can download it. So it'll be available on all the, you know, so the Virgin and Sky Store and Amazon and iTunes. So you'll be able to download it.
Yeah.
Obviously, you'll be able to order it, pre-order it, go buy it. So all those sort of things. Brilliant. And I'd like to think that anybody who potentially would want to get hold of it, would want to see it, will be able to. That's
important. Yeah. Access is important, obviously.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Big thanks to Rob for coming in. Good luck, mate. Good luck. But obviously me and Ped will do a little bit more on this as well as we move towards the premiere of it, and then some stuff after it as well. And hopefully we'll speak to you around the premiere
we will do.
As well as we're about to unveil it to everybody, for the world. Big thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to get over and check out all the details Rob's give you there. How to get your tickets, how to buy your copy and all that. Very important. Massive importance in our history. Thank you very much for making it, because it's been long overdue. Thanks for watching. See you later.
It's something unique about Everton. The history grabs you, and once it grabs you, it never leaves you.
Everton brought the cup back to Merseyside,
and a victory for Everton. Disaster.
disaster for Everton.
I can't see where this is going to change.
Ian Rush, can he score his fourth? Yes!
We've had many occasions like that where we'd let ourselves down.
Howard Kendall was introduced as Everton's new manager.
And I have been appointed today to bring success to Everton Football Club.
So his positive influence actually changed the way we played.
Howard Kendall was tactically so aware. I'd have run through a brick wall for him.
That's what wins you league titles.
Come on, boys.
lads.
Yeah. Got the light at the end of the tunnel.
Once you walked down that tunnel, it was like nothing else mattered.
You were going in as a gladiator.
It's settled now!
The FA Cup, 1984.
It's just a sea of blue.
Fans banging on the bus going,
And I've never heard anything or seen scenes like it.
These guys have been waiting years.
That was mind-blowing.
It's great to be in a side where you're consistently winning.
It's the ultimate. You are champions of England.
When I think of Everton, I think of Howard Kendall.